And what is up, everybody? Okay, yesterday was the official release of Skylanders Super Chargers, and of course, I pre-ordered it ahead of time. Unfortunately, since it was for PS4, um, uh, I didn't get an extra figure to go with it. Unlike when I pre-ordered it for the 3DS, apparently Nintendo was the only one shelling out the extra money so they could get promoted and get like extra stuff if you buy it for Nintendo, which I don't have a Wii U, and I wasn't gonna waste money on a 3DS because the last Skylanders game, I beat it in 3 days. I didn't die one time. They seriously dumbed it down. The graphics weren't as good. Gameplay was more or less the same, but for the life of me, I couldn't understand why they didn't have the 3D animated, screenshots, the cutscenes. They had it in the first game, second game, third game. All of a sudden, for Trap Team, they decide to completely do away with it. Not to mention, there was no trap crystals. The bosses weren't even necessarily playable. They were almost like the like in classic Streets of Rage, you push the special attack button and the squad car comes and shoots something in the air, kills all the enemies. That's basically what Trap Team was like when you caught the particular villains. They had the mini game inside there called Sky Stones, which was good. Then when I got the PS4 version of it, not only is it's a real continuation of the actual Skylanders platform games, and this is where you have Chaos, which Chaos wasn't in any of the 3DS games. It was completely different games, almost completely different gameplay. One of the things that I found very ridiculously frustrating was the fact that you couldn't run. You can't run in a platform game. And on top of that, all the trouble I went through upgrading my Skylanders in my 3DS games when I transferred them to the PS4, it was, they said, oh yeah, you're level 10, but as far as like all the moves and everything that I learned, they weren't there. I was like, all the Skylanders I had gotten up to at least level 10, and all of a sudden, they were just absolutely useless. And on top of that, even some of them, even as much as I leveled them up, still showed up at 0. And then having to buy all the moves, it was a bit frustrating. But graphics, phenomenal. Gameplay, great. A lot longer, obviously. And then, of course, the fact that you had the villains that you could actually play as, which I absolutely preferred. So, my biggest problem with that was the fact that I had to wait for the mystery elements to show up, and then it's light and dark, and when I asked to pre-order the expansion pack, it wasn't available for pre-order. Then it comes out, sells out, and they're like, oh no, we're never going to get that back. So I buy Nightlight and Nightmare, who are these beauties over here. Very cool looking Skylanders, obviously. Not part of the 8 original elements. But for the first game, for the 3DS, or for any of the 3DS, all you need is 8 elements, just one of each element. You don't have to collect every single one. You just need one of each element. And it was like this. It was the same thing for all the games throughout the 3DS. When I get it for PS4, when I get to the elemental challenges, you can't use the regular Skylanders. You had to use a Trap Team member. I only have 5 trap team members, so there was only 5 versions of elemental challenges I was actually able to get through. So there's a bunch more parts of the game that I haven't seen. And on top of that, because of the expansion pack, there's the expansion treasure, which takes me to another world to catch the last 2 bosses, the last 2 main criminals. But on top of that, there's 2 other trap crystals, which I don't have, and at least 6 more villains that I still haven't caught. Yet I've beaten the game. I caught Chaos. I caught all the other main villains. But when it comes to stuff like that, like, I find it a bit frustrating because I could have done a lot more. So that being said, now we come to Superchargers. Superchargers, again, completely new portal. Why? Because it has to accommodate for this. This is Skylander's vehicle. This little beauty's name is Hot Streak. Now, how it appears on screen, completely different. What I really love about this thing is the fact that you see the wheels, they're that cool, translucent, fiery blue, and they roll. That's right. I really appreciate that they did that. You know, they didn't have to go the extra mile for that. I mean, these are pretty much action figures. They don't move, but that's what they did, so good on them. This, that, the other. However, this car, granted, any Skylander could go in here. You can only use superchargers. They said you can only use the superchargers for them. What they failed to tell you is each vehicle is for a particular supercharger. This is Spitfire. He is a fire element. He's like a robot fire dragon. It's pretty interesting. But along with him came new Stealth Elf. Super Shot Stealth Elf. And she more or less has the exact same power she did before. Only difference is she doesn't specialize in melee. She specializes in range attacks instead. It didn't come with her vehicle, which is very, very disappointing, due to the fact that just playing through the first level, I didn't go past the first level because as I'm going, I'm playing along as him, and he's a good character to play as. I mean, he got some great moves, this, that, the other. You know, playing through everything in the melee. Then it gets to the part where, you know, you need a vehicle. And when you got the land-based vehicle, great. This thing does some amazing stuff, especially when you use him to get new pieces to eventually upgrade it, which is great. Then they get to a point where they say, "Oh, you need a air vehicle." I didn't have an air vehicle. Again, didn't come with one. Oh, I'm on another spot. Oh, you need a water vehicle. I didn't have a water vehicle because the game didn't come with one. On top of that, the fact that each supercharged Skylander, what I love about this, alright, each Skylander has its own vehicle, and as opposed to just like with Swap Force and Trap Team, having 2 members of the Swap Force or the Trap Team for each element, then you had like 6 more Skylanders for that particular element. Instead, what they have is 2 Skylanders per element, 2 vehicles per element, with the exception of Light and Dark, to which they only get 1. But each element has certain characteristics. Prime example, air obviously can fly. Life, those are flying vehicles. But then you got water and magic. Those are water vehicles. You have undead, which are all land. Those are land vehicles. You have uh, fire and attacks, as well as earth, all land vehicles. Then the sun or light element is a flying vehicle, and dark is a water vehicle, right? So that's great. Each figure has its own vehicle. But just like those old toy commercials from the 1980s, when you watched your favorite like Ninja Turtles or G.I. Joe toy commercials, figures and vehicles each sold separately. That's the biggest problem that I have with this right now. Granted, they got the expansion packs, and especially one of the biggest problems that I absolutely hated about this is that I'm in GameStop. The game was just released. Paid the $80 some odd, to get the game. Didn't come with anything extra like I had originally hoped. Comes with the 2 Skylanders. It shows the features, and it showed, this vehicle, and it showed her vehicle as well. Doesn't have it. So as I'm going through GameStop, I said, well, do they have her vehicle? They didn't have it. Are you kidding me? And then as I'm playing this, because for the Trap Team Portal would not work if you did not have a single Skylander. Didn't necessarily matter. The Trap Team regular figure didn't matter. If you didn't have a figure in the base, it wasn't going to work. This new portal, if you don't have a vehicle, it shuts down and tells you need to put a vehicle down, which is stupid because you can't play, because you're not really able to play the game without either, unfortunately. And the fact that they, it's like, I understand they want you to buy the toys and everything like that. I'm gonna get a water vehicle. I'm gonna get a air vehicle, and that's probably all I'm gonna do with it. And as far as which ones, I don't know. A couple of extra ones that actually look kind of cool that I want to get. Then the whole thing with expansion packs and just a bunch of extra stuff that you don't necessarily need to progress on with the actual story. But at the same time, there it is. And unfortunately, for me to really beat the game, I need an air and land vehicle, which means I need the Skylanders for those particular vehicles. I need to get her vehicle, which is an air vehicle, and I'm thinking of getting like the new version of Gil Grunt because he comes with an expansion pack for one of the races for Golden Queen. For a villain race. They got little mini games which requires racing and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. Kind of very reminiscent of Mario Kart almost. Some of the stuff that they got. It is, overall the game is fun. It's just frustrating how much money. It's like I'm not buying these toys. I'm not buying these toys for collector's purposes. I'm buying them because I need them to play the game. Now, mind you, when I bought the first game, I said to myself, I only need one of each element. I only need one of each element so I could actually go through 100%. So I could actually go through the game. Just one of each element. That's all you needed. And they were less than $10 at the time. It was pretty expensive, but that's all you needed for that game. Then Skylanders Giants came out. Okay, you need the Giants. The Giant came with it. There was a couple cool ones that I liked. T-Rex came with the game. But I liked Crusher, I liked Thumpback, so I got them. My niece liked Ninjini, so I bought Ninjini, so I got 4 Giants. Okay. Then comes Swap Force. Only Swap Force extra that I got was Freeze Blade. That was it. But since I got it for 3DS, it was Rattleshake, who I wanted, and Free Ranger, who was actually pretty cool. Okay, great. Then Here comes Trap Team. I said I only need 8 Skylanders. Including these two, I now own 30. Not my intention. But that's what Activision is doing, to more or less suck money out of you. And now that it requires vehicles, oh my God, I am afraid for the future, because after I go through the trouble of getting the other vehicles and then playing and ultimately beating the game, what the hell are they going to come out with next year? I don't know. Other than the fact that you got the trap crystals are pretty much worthless, all the other powers are worthless. Who knows? I'm done talking. You guys have a good night.